My name is Gabe Blythe. And you know what's great? Talking to other people. Brett and Eileen are great. You don't have to be alone anymore. There are more of us. And you know it now. And just to get it out of the way, I'll be on the college off of State Street tomorrow, midday to sundown. Maybe I'll even be able to convince Brett or Eileen to come with me. Brett, super cool, actually. Even though he strikes you as someone who is more concerned about his muscle mass than anything else, we had a fantastic and long conversation about philosophy. Turns out, he can read it without going into the deep end of his own thoughts. Felt a little tact in that moment, not gonna lie. Not that I'm proud of my own responses to it, but it was interesting to see him just kind of pick something up and not really get into his own head about it. We talked about determinism, actually. The concept that we don't have a true control over ourselves or anything, really, that all human action has been determined long ago. And we are just reacting to what has happened before us that someone else was also reacting to. That we as a human society or whatever are just purely reacting to someone else's previous reaction. Point is that we're not actually responsible for our actions. Which I don't know if I agree with. Isn't that like how we signify our true individualism? Right? Like the idea of how we react to external stimuli and how we overcome that defines us. Right? Like, there's this constant argument of nature versus nurture and how those things can change a lot about a person. Like, there's the story of the two siblings or twins, and one of them grows up to be a doctor, and the other grows up to be the kingpin kind of trope, you know, the nature versus nurture. Someone overcame it with the right nature, someone leaned into it with the right nurture, or the inverse, even. But it's the idea that we respond in such a specific way that defines us. So determinism, according to Brett, is the fact that it removes accountability from our actions. That we shouldn't feel bad about making the choices that we do because we had no choice. It comes across as determinism is removing accountability for your actions because none of it matters. Brett counters that the sibling trope is exactly the point. We're only reacting to what was a reaction of someone else. One sibling might be reacting to the other. I gotta be better than this person. Or on the inverse, I might as well lean into the idea that everyone is giving me. I might as well lean into the fact that I'm the hope of the family. I'm the destructive one, the bad sibling, the bad kid. The reaction even of being born. They didn't choose that. I'll admit, got me pretty depressed having that discussion. The idea that we don't control anything, it's a bit overwhelming. The thought that we don't make a difference and can't, that's rough. We all want to leave our mark, don't we? Brett, on the other hand, finds it relieving. He said, It's a lot like destiny. He started speaking the language that he knew I would understand, and he started making references to literature. And he talked about how most heroes in a novel have their destiny, and they're unable to move beyond it or change it because of two things. One, destiny is always steadfast. And two, the writer won't allow it. So in the end, he said, God won't allow you to change his divine plan. Now, if I was more religious, I could appreciate that. Regardless, I found it kind of comforting. The idea we are here for a reason. It might be a minute reason, but still, we have the opportunity to cause a butterfly effect. Yeah. It was an interesting conversation. Maybe you can meet Brett. He knows a lot of interesting stuff. And doesn't judge a book by its cover. Eileen, on the other hand, is on a whole nother level. She's constantly scanning the horizon, right? Super prepared. Like Sarah Connor kind of prepared. Constantly coming up with plans for escape. If X happens, then jump out the window. If Y happens, then kick that person out of the way and act as a barrier for others to get to safety. Royal Navy kind of training, I guess. She told me that she knew I wasn't a threat the moment she saw me. She said that my body language was the biggest sign, but also she was able to see my hands were pretty clean, meaning I wasn't doing a lot of labor. I guess to her that means I wasn't showing signs that I made any actual traps, or I wasn't the one to make them. She's fascinating. It would probably be a good word for it. I'm constantly asking her about her time in the Royal Navy, and she says she'll answer them once she's a little more settled. But I don't know what settled means in this context. I mean, I gave him a nice apartment. It's safe, and there's plenty of food. Oh, speaking of, I need to go on another food run. Maybe stop in some homes. If there's one good thing about the weird religious bubble that Utah is that they were just like super ready for doomsday. Too bad they never had a chance to use any of this. So there's a ton of canned foods in basements and buckets and barrels of honey and wheat. So just have to find a very devout home and go into their unfinished basement and pull out the storage. It's so much better than an MRE. You gotta believe me. That was another thing I asked Eileen, actually. If she ate a lot of them. She told me that on the ship she served on, the HMS Defy, they had a fully stocked kitchen. No need to eat an MRE, I guess, which sounds great. She also said it's more of a comfort and nutrients boost than anything else, the MRE. She said when you're out on your own and you haven't had a chance to go back to base, warm food will boost your confidence and your state of mind. She later told me that just having food in general was great, and not eating the same thing day after day was pretty great. And she said she was super grateful for everything I did for them. Taking them in and feeding them. I guess I feel a little guilty. You know, I set him up in a space, and I made him believe that it was a safe space, but it's not my place that I call safe. And they don't know that I'm here now, making this broadcast or any of my other broadcasts. All they know is that I'm looking for survivors. Maybe that's what Eileen meant. Just like her, I'm not settled with them. They are super nice, but when am I allowed to trust them? Trust them fully? Ugh, now I'm starting to sound like the flower axe that I told you about. Vulnerability is hard. Again, basing what I know off of literature and stories, is that the right thing to do is to not open up to them. Keep myself emotionally reserved. But that doesn't work. You have to open up. You've got to open up. Maybe I'm not there yet with them, but they are nice people. Maybe you could connect with them a little bit faster than I do. Man. Isolation really did a number on us, didn't it? I feel like I need to lock up a lot of my feelings. Normally I'm so open. I mean, you've heard me. But you and I, we've been in this for a lot longer, I guess. When you get here, we can talk about that. Or will I even know it's you? This is a very one-sided relationship we have. Brett would be good to say something like this and then smile and say, "No, I can't do anything about it," and move on with his day. Kings and country, I envy that. All right. Rambled enough. Tomorrow, I'll be on the college campus. Midday to sundown. Come meet me. And Gabe and Eileen. You aren't alone. And you don't have to be. But good luck out there.